Hello there, my project managers. Today we are going to take a look at a question that came in from one of our YouTube friends, Asma, about sensitivity analysis versus simulation. This is going to be a rather quick video. I do not intend to belabor the point, but I will show you here a few slides just to clarify what exactly these two terms actually mean. So let's get into the very first one to talk about here, and this one is sensitivity analysis. So why don't you follow me down to the pmbok guide. We're going to open up a page to read, and this is in chapter 11, and under the perform quantitative risk analysis section. There are 7 processes, as you know, in risk management, and it's a very beefy section of the pmbok guide. This is on page 434. So let's read. It says, sensitivity analysis helps to determine which individual project risks or other sources of uncertainty have the most potential impact on project outcomes. It correlates variations in project outcomes with variations in elements of the quantitative risk analysis model. Now, that could appear to be rather confusing. That is short for these points. 1. Sensitivity analysis helps to determine which individual project risks have an impact on the project most. You want to identify those risks that are most impactful. In sensitivity analysis, you find the tornado diagram being the typical display for this sensitivity on a scale, if you will. But really, more than anything else, it's an image that you have there on page 434 I'm referring to. And it says, one typical display of sensitivity analysis is the tornado diagram, which presents the calculated correlation coefficient for each element of the quantitative risk analysis model that can influence the project outcomes. This is short for the longer the bar, the more sensitive the item. Okay? It says this can include individual project risks or specific sources of ambiguity. So when you take a look at this, you need to remember that it is not just project risks alone. You could also have in a tornado diagram activities that are risky and other endeavors of a risk nature. So if you read the second part here, it says this can include individual project risks, project activities with high degrees of variability, or specific sources of ambiguity. Items are ordered by descending strength of correlation, given the typical tornado appearance. And they give you an example, and I'm showing you a variation of what they have in the pmbok guide, because not every tornado diagram has some to the left and some to the right. Sometimes it's a bar right across a realm of possibilities. So getting ready for the PMP exam, I would say read the definition on page 434, understand the high level of what they're talking about, and what they're really talking about here is that the longer bars are most sensitive. The smaller bars are less sensitive. Moving on to our next topic here in the question that Asma has sent us is, what is simulation? One of the ways you know a tornado diagram is different is what you use for sensitivity analysis is the tornado diagram. What you use for simulation as documented in the PMBOK guide, is a Monte Carlo simulation, a computerized simulation. Let's read quick. It says quantitative risk analysis uses a model that simulates the combined effects of individual project risks and other sources of uncertainty to evaluate the potential impact on achieving project objectives. So really what you're doing here, you're not looking at the sensitivity of the risks per se. You're really looking at the impact. There's a difference between trying to analyze which risks, have the most impact using a sensitivity, or are most sensitive using a sensitivity analysis, versus actually looking at the impact using simulation. Simulations are performed not using some statistical method by hand, but they're performed using a Monte Carlo analysis. When run the Monte Carlo analysis for cost risk, the simulation uses the project cost estimates. So the way you go about doing a sensitivity analysis and the reason behind it is very different from that of sensitivity analysis. There's no reason to think either one can be substituted for the other. They do different things. For those of you who are keen on knowing a little bit more, maybe you want to go a little step further in your studying, not for the exam, but maybe just for additional information, I want to recommend a website. Now, I don't own shares in this company. I am not affiliated or associated with them yet. It's a good company from what I've seen as far as the products they produce. But I want to encourage you to go to the Palisadescom site. I've talked about it on this site a few times, on this channel a few times. Go to this website I'm showing you, Palisade.com. You really want to know more. You really want to explore Monte Carlos and sensitivity analysis type stuff to the ends of the earth. Really more in line with simulation, to be honest. But I'm sure that on this website, if you search, you'll probably find some dialogue about the tornado diagram. So I am going to type in tornado and let's see what comes up. I can almost put money on it. Something regarding the tornado diagram will come up. Maybe not here. I think this is a page for sales. Okay. So there are a bunch of things I can't immediately verify. But one thing I can tell you about this site is it will sensitize you, no pun intended, to the Monte Carlo simulation. As you can see down here, they've got a brilliant array of tools to help project managers in simulation and risk management, and they've got a lot of webinars here, a lot of on-demand webinars as well. This may be taking it to the nth degree, but for project managers who are in industries where this kind of stuff is used, I would recommend go noodle about here, find out what you can, and it will only enrich your understanding regarding the Monte Carlo simulation and what it does. Okay? I hope that helps explain to you in more detail what exactly each of these things is. And in closing, I will say on the PMP exam, be aware that you are not going to be asked to run a Monte Carlo or a tornado diagram or do a sensitivity analysis, but having an idea about what exactly they are, how they are used in project management, that will help you. Okay? Now, a flashback from the past editions of the PMBOK guide on the tornado diagram. It reads, for example, if a decision maker needs to visually compare 100 budgetary items and wishes to identify the 10 items one should focus on, it will be nearly impossible to do so using a standard bar graph. In a tornado diagram of the budget items, the top 10 bars would represent the items that contribute the most to the variability of the outcome. In other words, which of those items is the riskiest in terms of the band of risk presented, and therefore what the decision maker should focus on. The most sensitive items are the ones you want to focus on. I hope that helps you. Thanks for the question. Bye for now.